Paddy, of your father and Castleconnell fishery?
Well, the last fish, I suppose, the last fish he got before he parted with us was a fish of 38 pounds, caught on the fly in Powellcown.
He was the last of the big fish off Castleconnell fishery.
That's true, that's true.
We have a snap of him here, Paddy. We'll just have a look at it. So that's yourself and your father there.
That's right, that's right.
With the big mighty salmon in the middle. 38 pounds.
38 on a fly and a thunder and lightning.
My God.
That was the fly, and he was on his own the same day. Gapped him and landed him and hocked him home on his back. And it was your father, Mick, I think, that met him, as far as I remember, and offered to bring him, to give him a hand to bring him home. But he wouldn't part with him. He held on to him and
my God.
tugged him. And
did he miss a big fish the same day in the old door, I think, somebody said?
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah,
it's
he
possible.
lost a big fish that day as well. Yeah.
There was lots of them around that time.
That's right. It was a mighty river.
Oh,
well, Beat 5 is famous, Paddy, and always was for spring fish, wasn't it?
That's right. A good share of deep water in it. They met the deep water, and the pool suited them. There was great pools in it, and there's great pools in it now too.
Oh yeah, I mean, Powellcown is a great spring beat.
Oh, it is a great
spring
pool to hold
yeah,
the fish.
it is.
That's true.
That's right.
And my God, we saw many good fish brought ashore and taken away. But maybe it'll come back one of these days.
Well, will we ever get the big fish again, Paddy, do you think?
Oh yes, it looks like it. With that fish, we got a nice fish today.
There's a lovely fish, isn't he? A lovely deep fish.
To me, it's very obvious, quite obvious that in a couple of years, please God, we'll be looking for him. We'll be after him again. But Bill won't, of course. Bill is gone, and it's my turn now to
keep the family tradition.
That's right.
Well, I think that was incredible, Paddy, that you killed the fish today in the place just above the place where you killed your first salmon 50 years ago, did you say?
That's right, almost.
My God.
Almost, yeah, between 40 and 50 years.
So you would have remembered your father doing gilly for the
gentry.
The gentry.
That's right, that's right, here in landscape in the final years with a Captain Anderson, and of course we had Castleconnell, we had Coolbarn Hotel, and we had the Shannon Hotel, and we had the Waddles Inn.
And your father was a world famous fisherman, wasn't he? He was known all over the world.
He was in write-ups numerous times on papers and books and magazines, and got a great send-off on numerous occasions. I'd love to meet these people now that wrote about him and took photos of him, and I'd love to come across him now and thank him. That we now realise that the size of the fish and the fishing they were dealing with, and they were a generation never to be seen again, I suppose, these people.
There was an awful lot of famous names attached to Castleconnell and to the river there, and I know that there was a lot of work carried out during those years, say, on the spawning beds after the Shannon scheme, and very knowledgeable river people were employed at this kind of work. And we're looking here at a still print of some of these people. And from left to right there, Paddy, could you name them?
They had a nickname which was very common in this area, and I suppose in other areas too. And the first man there on the left is Jim Burke. We used to call him the Beazle. And next to him is Jim Myers, who lived here in landscape. These were gillies. And of course my father is the third man, Bill Touhy. The next one is Jerry Burke. And the last one is Michael Mackey.
And these were all names steeped in the tradition of the river.
That's
Paddy.
right, yeah.
And as I said, very knowledgeable people of the river. And I'd say those men, more than anything else, minimised the effect of the Shannon scheme in such a way that they knew where the spawning areas were, and they were able to retain them by building little spore walls and keeping certain water levels in spawning areas. They played a major role in this, didn't they, Paddy?
Yes, that's true, Michael. Mick, that's true. George Lee.
He was in charge.
He was in charge, and he used to give them this employment when the fishing had tailed off and their money had gone down. That was the reason, wanted it to fill in a week gap, as we might say, to help them over the Christmas.
Well, wasn't there an awful lot of conservation on the fishery that time when such attention was given to the spawning beds? I mean, it's great to know that as far back as that time that people were conscious of how important the spawning beds were to Castleconnell.
Right. These people lived, they were born and reared and lived on the fishery. They understood it and they knew what was needed.
Exactly, and they're the people, I would say, who really minimised the effect of the scheme.
That's right, they done that of these old times. They were great characters. We look forward to them coming every year, and they used to write us and send us cards, and used to look forward, of course, to the hotels, join them at the hotel, and it was a big business. I experienced some of it towards the tail end.
And you have very fond memories of it, Paddy.
Oh, indeed, yes, I have, yeah. And I'd like to say to you, Mick, thanks for giving me the opportunity after such a long time to come back, as we say, and wet a line.
And wasn't it great, Paddy, that you killed a beautiful 12-pound fish?
Wonderful, wonderful, right. Mick, I'm delighted.
Paddy, we're looking here at another well-known Castleconnell boatman and fisherman in Gilly.
That's right, Mick. Old Scape, as he was called.
He lived down the world's end, did he?
That's right, in the spa.
My God,
in the spa, Mick.
Paddy, will you look at the length of the handle and the gaff?
For the boat and for the high banks. There was no net that time, Mick.
My God. And of course, we're looking here at a still print, Paddy, of Sean Carroll the time he was arrested over his protest about Castleconnell fishery.
That's right.
When he insisted on fishing and that the fishery should be... I think he wanted it opened up too.
That's right, he didn't want a licence, Mick.
That's right. He was probably involved in the first rod licence war, wasn't he?
That's right. It was
as an individual.
As it happened, it was confined completely to himself.
This is a beautiful photograph of your father fishing in the bush hole.
That's right.
With his fly rod.
With his favourite hobby, the fly.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
But he was a fine man too, wasn't he?
Oh, he was 14 stone weight and he 21 years of age.
My God.
But I'd say a lot of that was Guinness.
And we're looking at a still print of Jim Myers. He was another famous fisherman, Paddy.
That's right, Mick. He was from Landscape. And I just knew Jim had red hair. And I just knew him a couple of years before he gave up. He was a great flyman, a great man to put out the fly in and to fish. Of course, like my father, he had spent
all his life.
All his life, yeah.
And he also worked on the spawning beds in Castleconnell.
Oh, that's right, Mick, he did, yeah.
My God.
And during the winter months. Tensed and trying to think of something just when you have a pint or two or when you'll be relaxed.
Exactly. But we're looking here, Paddy, at another print, one of your famous collections, and that's one of the Nestors actually.
That's right. 'Tis Gus and Joe Nestor's father.
My God.
Alex Nestor.
And he's a noble salmon hanging up there. 'Tis the lint of the door nearly.
That's right.
And more than 3/4 the length of his body.
That's right.
He was around 40 pounds, was he?
Oh, at least, yes, he was. Yeah, I had heard stories about him. And before I actually got the photo. And he was a very keen fisherman. Of course, so was Bertie and Gus. And Gus was a great man after the trout.
They have been linked with fishing and angling for quite a while.
That's right.
Here. That's a fine salmon there. What weight was he?
55 pounds, Mick.
55, my God, incredible fish.
And the man on the right there is the man that got him, Bill Ivis, in Killaloo.
My God.
in, I think, 1942, I think it was.
Tell me about the Shannon when you remember it.
It was high water in it. There was no way out there.
And it was a fine river.
Fine river. Finest river in the world.
And where were the best places to fish that time, Jack?
Every place was good that time because the water was in it.
I get you.
Do you understand?
The upper lock and the lower lock and...
Every place was in form
That's right.
for fishing.
Was the head of the island, that was called the upper lock, was it?
The head of the island.
Yeah.
The head of the island.
For just above the ferry.
Yeah, it's Castleconnell.
Yeah, yeah. And where was the biggest fish caught on it, Jack?
He was gotten many places. The Ness was great fishery. Up on lower the Ness. The Ian Wrights was fishing it. George Kelly was coming in here and Adams was here coming in. Englishman.
What was the biggest fish hooked to the fly here, Jack? Can you remember?
I don't know about the fly.
And they're mostly killed on baits, were they?
They were killed on the flies as well because the water was there. Do you understand?
You reckon there's not enough water there now, Jack?
No. There's enough water there. Do you know what finished? Do you know what finished the Shannon? The dam above the weir. The weir.
I get you.
Put across that. The day that was put across that, finished it. Finished the Shannon forever, love.
I did, I suppose. Well, you saved this morning, bit, Jack, didn't you, with all your little spur walls and...
We did.
You're doing a great job.
We did. We did.
You must have great knowledge of the river that time, Jack, had
Well,
you?
we had very used to it. Good wanting to it.
Born and bred in it.
Born and bred in it. We were born and bred up on that Shannon.
Exactly.
We were.
They were good.
There's no one to take it off us.
And they were good days, Jack.
There was a family there lived alongside us, Anthony and Michael. And he fished inside of Willingham in the island. Michael did. Anthony fished no garden, except in Tyler. And they fished it, there was fish there. Oh, Jesus.
15 pound weight, Jack.
There was salmon there, no right fucking big.
I suppose.
Frightened.
How long would it take to play out one of them fish, Jack?
He's on the count where you meet him. If you meet him in a rough place, he'll get up with you. And if you meet him in a soft place, you'll kill him no bother. You'll kill him with a silk thread.
Yes.
Understand? You're sizing me up all the time.
I am. So, you reckon it would depend on where you'd hook him?
Well, Toad, if you had him in the mouth, the gob, and stuck well into him, and hold him.
Would you play him out in an hour, say?
You would if you had a good year and that you were sound with him, and that you know he's foreign.
You had to know the fish.
You want to know the fish.
I get you.
There you go.
You would be too young to go back to, but you must have heard stories. And you must have been around at the tail end of the big fish. Say.
I was, Michael, I was. Now, Big Mike Mackey, who was Tyler's father, used to call him Big Mike. He was about 6'4". And he was the real old big white moustache in him and all. And I used to go for porter for him and he'd put the poker into it and mull it. And he lived there in down the street where KG Mackey next to the Burks. But he was the head man on the river at that time, waterkeeper or inspector or whatever they called them. And he'd always go to the turret side of the river, the clear side, and he'd be down around the turret and that area, and he'd be watching all the
They
holes.
cover most of the river.
He'd have it all covered.
Yes.
See?
And there wouldn't have been the same growth there that time.
No. Oh, that's what I was saying, Asher. I'm going back 70 years, maybe. I'm 82 now, Michael, as you know. But anyway, he saw Toddler Touhy. Now, Toddler, I come back to Toddler in a minute. Sure. Toddler Touhy, he lived below, you know, Touhy's Lane, don't you?
I do, of course, yeah.
Last house there, Toddler lived in that. And he had it all to himself, you see, had Toddler, because he was kind of out of the way, like, and they couldn't really watch him all the time. And there was a hole below, as you go down, I remember where the briars was. The briars were down below, and there was further down then, there was a kind of a flat area running out, and they called it a flag hole. It was as flat as that, look. And the fish coming up along, they'd come in there and rest.
Oh, I get you, because there was a steep fall just above.
Oh, jeez, they were hitting up again the heavy stuff like.
The falls of the nest.
That's right, that's what the fall, that was heavy water.
Yeah.
Now, he'd come in there and he'd rest himself, and sometimes they'd be sitting on the flag, and the back had been nearly over the water.
Yeah.
But this now was supposed to have happened. I have heard it, quite a lot of it. Big Mike was across in the turret, you see, and he had a whole thing under observation. And the toddler came down. That time they used a thing called a groping wattle. There was a groping wattle, a stroke hall, and of course there was the ordinary gaff. But toddler used to use the groping wattle. But
A groper wattle now, Sean. What exactly was that?
and it is a kind of an old big long old handle, Mike.
With a noose in it or something?
No, the hooks were kind of fixed
Oh,
on.
yes, I have it now,
Fixed on,
Yeah.
and you poke it out to see along. And
If you felt something, you...
oh, Jimmy Hogg told me you could feel the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd whip.
And you'd whip him straight away.
Yeah.
Well, toddler anyway whipped his fish. And Mike knew he was a big one, a very big one. So he was for weeks and weeks finding out what size this fish was. But eventually it transpired anyway that the fish, according to rumours, was 62 pound weight.
My God.
That's only what I heard now.
Yeah. Was that the biggest fish that people knew of? What was the biggest fish that would have been caught on rod and line, do you think, Sean?
Well, sure,
the stories you heard.
Yeah, that fish is beyond in George Lee's shop. He's 52 pound weight, you know.
That fish?
That big fish, and there's my Uncle John and Bill Tucker, and there's one of the fish I think is 36, and the other is 52, and there's a smaller fish in.
And is that the fish in the glass case? Oh, that's a different fish.
Oh, that's a different fish.
Yeah. So...
That's a different fish.
Yeah,
No,
so that 52 pound fish is one of the biggest fish.
well, he's the biggest one I've seen. Anyway.
Right, okay. Or
But-
did you
but
hear
now-
about?
I go back now to the time when I was going for me bundle of sticks, and I was going down the bank. This time now the water was gone down a bit, and there was nice water in the river. But Toddler Touhy was fishing the Castle Lock himself and one of the Edmondses and Ned Cattle in the old street of Brother Sean Cattle's. And I was going down running, of course, in a hurry. And old Mick Burke, he was a brother of old George Burke's. Old George, the ferryman. Old Mick was a staff sergeant in the British Army, and he used to wear the leggings and all the gear like every day. You'd think he was going on parade. But anyway, he was lying again the wall low in the Sean inches, we say. And he says to me, Hogg, there ain't a good fish out here. And this is it, yeah, to say. Toddler was down on his knees in the boat, and the top of the rod was on the water. He said he's after taking him up now, says he, to the Castle Lock, says he, and bringing him down again. They hooked him there above like a lane, he said.
And they'd be fishing over board.
Oh, they would. Oh, jeez, they would. And you were great boatmen, Mick. Just imagine, that was
hold the boat in that water.
a heavy river.
Yeah.
And they were using poles, you know. But anyway, eventually he backed down and they backed down. They wanted to get him into a corner where they had no control of him out in the open, of course. He was too big. But they got him down there under Brendan Burke's where that little river comes out there.
I know it well.
Yeah, and they got him into that corner there and they gaffed him there. And the fish, I was there today now, I saw the fish, 42 pound weight.
My God.
Then I saw that fish. And another fish I saw, Jack Burke had 3 goats beyond and what they used to call the Nutcock Hill in Hatbiggins across the river, right across the river from the pump. And the river was big, fairly big, and Jack couldn't go on his own. The boat, I didn't blame him. And he said to me, would I come with him? And Jesus, now I haven't much good to him, I suppose I was only 13 or 14, but I could pull an oar all right. So he said, we'll manage it, Sean. So we went up along the backwater at the island side, you see. And there was an old concrete wall up there, if you ever saw it.
I know it well.
Yeah. Well, when we got up just above that...
That's the back of Levy's.
That's it.
Yeah.
Jack shot her out through the stream. But of course, once you were through the stream in the middle, you were okay, like. But we shot her out anyway, and went through the stream in the middle. And once you got into the other water, you were grand. So we went across anyway, and we put up the boat, and Jack went off looking for his goats to milk them. And while he was gone, his brother Jim Burke, who was fishing with some couple of gentlemen down around Dunas at the Clare side. And he walked up the bank and he had a salmon fly rod and a gaff. He had a couple of flies on the line and all. But he stopped there and he says, where has he gone, Sean? He's gone off, says I, looking for the goats. I says, we could be here for the night. Well, anyway, he started to fish. And at that time now, there was a kind of a wall going along the verge of the bank, where the bank came down to meet the river. They had a stone wall along there.
Yeah.
And you could stand on the top of that stone wall and fish from there.
That was called the head of the lock, was it?
And well, it was halfway up the lock that time.
Yeah.
The lock went up, we'll say, above, at the back of the island house.
Yes, yeah.
No.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
I know the place you're talking about.
But you know, but anyway, Jim started to fish. Jesus, here about the third or fourth throw, wasn't he in a salmon? And I was afraid of my life because he was going to ask me to get this salmon, you see.
You were afraid to lose him, Sean?
Jesus, I thought to myself, what will happen if I lose him? So he kept backing and backing. He was played out all right, but he kept backing and backing. He was nice and steady with him, and he backed away up, and the fish came in nice and slowly. Now, Sean says here, across the belly, and you can't miss him. So I suppose I was kind of handy, but Jesus, I brought him anyway, with the first race. And he was 22 pounds weight, Michael.
Yes, grand fish.
A grand fish. Yeah. He was a grand fish.
Your family hasn't been identified more with rod making. I mean, everyone you talk to are of the opinion that the inright rod in the inrights, whereas your family were involved as much as anybody in rod making.
Well, in actual fact, there is a piece of one of the old Limerick journals written by the man that died now. I can't think of his name now. He was from Pinnywell there. He used to write a bit for the. He used to write a bit on the leader and all that. But he put an article on at one time, and he went out and he spoke to one of the old fishermen as well in Castleconnell, Shanks, Touhy.
Right.
And Shanks Touhy said, well, in actual fact, he said, all the praise for the Castleconnell rod should actually go to the Hoggs, because 'twas they made the rod. And I remember my Uncle John telling me My Uncle John told me, Mick, when I was very young, that when John Enright won the World Championship long casting,
Yes.
he had a green heart rod. It was made by my grandfather. And it couldn't exceed 20 feet. And it was 19 feet and 11 inches.
Isn't that very historic now, Sean?
Yes.
And it's not referred to a lot.
No. But there you
Because
are
you would
now.
have you would have...
Well, I'm almost sure now that that is the truth, because my
That's-
Uncle
yeah.
John was one of them men that wouldn't
That's very interesting.
tell lies.